victory in the Southwest Pacific resulted from the teamwork of Yanks and Aussies toward the conquest of New Guinea, which saved Australia from invasion. It was 1943. Allied warplanes were alerted at a score of airdromes. An enemy convoy had been sighted off Rabaul, steaming for Lae, one of the last Japanese strongholds on New Guinea. Then, with the enemy in the narrow Bismarck Sea, the signal came to strike, March 2nd, 1943. Action for crews of American liberators, Mitchell's flying forts. Joining Yanks were Australians and Dutchmen, too. This time it was planes alone against surface ships, and they were raring to go. Every eye would be riveted on the ocean for 10 warships and 12 transports jammed to the gunwales with the enemy.
Global war has sprung a lot of uniforms around the world. Back home, the big cities are getting more and more used to foreign chevrons, cockeyed accents, Allied servicemen coming from somewhere, going somewhere, here for a day or two or maybe 3. Here's one of them, an Australian flyer, Wing Commander Keith Hampshire, RAAF, on his way to England with 4 days in New York en route. And while he's here, it's see as much as possible. Today, the Empire State Building, the highest building in the world, 100 floors above New York, over 1,000 feet up above the second largest city in the world. Even for an airman, that's altitude. And for anyone, it's an impressive sight. There are more than 10 million people down there, Commander. It's about as many people as in all Australia. It's New York, Hoboken and Jersey City, Brooklyn and Long Island City, Yonkers, Staten Island, Hackensack, Queens. It's New York. A lot of flyers, soldiers, sailors, and Marines come from here. That's Eddie Connor and Duke Duclos, his pals. Just back here after 20 months in the South Pacific.
Hey, see that guy there in a blue uniform? Haven't we seen him somewhere before?
Australia. Yeah, he was with us in New Guinea, that Boston outfit, I believe.
You sure? Go over and ask him.
No, you go.
Oh, let's both go.
Okay.
They all got decorated in the Bismark Sea show in New Guinea, in the same spot where the commander did his flying. DFCs and silver stars for them, and a DSO for Commander Hampshire. They're 7,000 miles away now, and when guys have flown together, they always head for the nearest bar to talk about it over a beer.
No, actually, I've only been in this country 2 weeks. 1 day in New York so far.
How do you like it?
Great. Something like I'd hoped for. People are very friendly. Of course, I expected that, having seen so many of your chaps down in New Guinea.
Commander, weren't you in that Australian squadron of Boston's located at 4 Mile?
Right, 20 Squadron.
We were B-25s, based on Schwimmer Field.
Yeah, we were the first B-25 squadron into actual combat.
Commander, you knew the generals, didn't you?
Yes, a bit.
Well, what was the brass hat version of this Bismarck Sea story? I mean, how did they talk about it?
You see, all we got was the fun and the convoy.
Well, to summarize briefly, it was a great piece of work on the part of the intelligence, a well-conceived and rehearsed plan, and brilliantly executed. Well, you know that, naturally, you were there. One of the most pleasing features concerning the victory was that every unit of the 5th Air Force took part in the action and had some measure of success. Operations at every of a minute.
I knew when we got up there that it was going to be a big day. March the 3rd, 1943. As it turned out, it was the biggest day of my life. 3 days we'd had the ships all gassed up and loaded with eggs for Hirohito. The waiting had been tough. All we'd been worrying about was wind. And that morning, when we hopped into our little B-25s, we were ready to go. Our squadron went up at about 9:30, all B-25s. The P-38 went up with us. And on the timetable, the squadrons from almost all the other fields were going up at about the same time. Other B-25s, Bostons, Beaufighters, P-38s, P-40s, B-17s, the works. Part of them Aussie and Yank. Most of them just Yanks. As we circled over Moresby, it was a beautiful day. Somebody told me the Japs had been counting on bum weather to get them through safely. But the weather certainly went off and left them that day. It was as clear as a bell, with a few cumulus clouds at about 5,000 feet. It took us a little more than an hour to get out there, to that poor little old beat-up convoy. They were doomed, and they knew it. The whole damn 5th Air Force, almost, was hammering at them, strafing them to knock out that ACAC. Aussies and the bullfighters went in first. And then we and the B-25s went in at mast height, skipping the bombs off the water to hit them broadside. Our squadron was for medium level bombing at 5,000 feet. Our bombardiers are sometimes better than a direct hit. That transport, we wanted to stick around and go after some more. But once we'd shot our load and sunk a transport, we let out for home. The skip bombing boys made several runs, but we weren't that lucky. Anyhow, looking back, it was the prettiest sight I've ever seen. Japs, dead Japs, all over the damned ocean.
In one day of bombing, actually, an entire Japanese division of more than 15,000 men and their equipment was destroyed utterly. 22 ships and 100-odd Zeros was against 4 planes and 12 men. It was a bloody fine show. When our planes got back to their fields, squadron by squadron, they could lay a just claim to have saved the lives of thousands of Allied ground forces. Among others, Lord Trenchard, founder of the Royal Air Force, cabled us saying, the Americans and the Australians and the 5th Air Force have, as a result of the Bismarck Sea battle, brought about the greatest air victory over sea power of all time in any theater and in any war.